Good morning, Magic. I'm Gavin Verhey from Wizards of the Coast, and last week I asked all of you on Twitter and YouTube to send me your Commander Legends questions, and you all delivered. In fact, I got so many questions that I'm going to split it into 2 episodes. Today I'm going to cover Twitter's questions, and on Wednesday I'm going to cover YouTube's questions. And because I haven't quite recorded Wednesday's episode yet, you're welcome to leave any questions down below, and I'll roll those in with the questions I got last week. But without further ado, let's get into today's episode and all of your wonderful questions. Here we go. What commander is the most surprising to see built so much since launch? Looking at just the EDHREC stats, I would have to say Arumi of the Dead Tide. I mean, I knew it was going to be popular, the card looks pretty cool, but to be the second or third most popular built commander, wow, that's something. Because of the long development time of the set, did some legendary creatures you created for Commander Legends end up being inserted in some other sets that were being developed along the line? Very good question. And the answer is yes, definitely. There were a couple legendary cards for sure that were taken from this set and put elsewhere. For example, last week in my playtest card video, I showed off a version of Gerard and a version of Tahngarth. Well, we decided to take them out of this set and put them into Commander 2019. Now the cards ended up changing what they did, but the idea of doing a Gerard and a Tahngarth stuck all the way through. Did the design handoff for Commander Legends ever have more non-legendary multicolored cards in the file? One thing we discovered really early on in design is that making multicolored cards that were not legendary would be a challenge. The Legends for sure have a place to live. They set the color identity for your deck. But because of the color identity rule, it makes it very difficult to put a bunch of multicolored cards here. If you have, say, a red-green card, then the number of decks it can go into is very small. It has to hit exactly the red-green drafter or one of the 3-color drafters that include red and green. All that said, at the handoff though, I did have one cycle of multicolored non-legendary cards in the file. I was trying a cycle of multicolored confluences. There were 5 for all of the allied colors. They were built like the original confluences with 3 different abilities, 1 for each color, and then a third that could be both colors. They didn't end up making it through, but I would still love to do multicolored confluences someday. Where's Kallistroka? Well, not in the set, I guess. Do you think Investigate will make it into a future iteration of this kind of supplemental product? As someone who worked on Shadows over Innistrad and also submitted many different designs for Investigate style mechanics, I'm a huge fan of Investigate. I'd love to do more of it in future products, all over the place really. A big question I have for all you out there that I'm curious about. Right now you investigate to make a clue token. That's what investigate means. But with the current version of treasure, you just simply create treasure tokens. How do you feel if we divorced clue from investigate? Because right now it's kind of like 2 different keywords, right? You have to know investigate and you have to know clue. What if we just said make clue tokens? Would you care at all? Would that feel less flavorful to you? Would you like it less? Would you like it more? Let me know in the comments down below. How many lands do you need for a 60 card deck? For Commander Legends draft, I recommend starting with 25 and then wiggling up or down as your deck needs dictate. Was there ever a consideration to print Cabal Coffers into Commander Legends? When we look at putting reprints into a set, we look at a number of different things. 2 big ones are 1, does the card fit the theme of the set? And 2, is the card a trap? And Cabal Coffers commits 2 big problems here. You're almost always drafting 2 or more colors. Drafting mono is not really a thing, although you can do it. And even worse, Cabal Coffers will send you down the wrong path. If you first pick a Cabal Coffers, you might think, hey, mono black is totally a thing I can do here. And then you try it and realize that there's no support for it whatsoever. Then you've had a pretty bad draft experience. That said, we do know that Cabal Coffers is a card that needs to be reprinted, so it's very much on our radar for that. And that's all I can really say for now. Any chance of hybrid working as intended in Commander soon? I would say that it very much is working as intended. The Commander Rules Committee is the group that manages the rules of the Commander format, not us here at Wizards. And they have said this is how they want hybrid to work in their format. So quite literally, it's working as they intend for it to. Now, hybrid in Commander is always a hot topic amongst the design team, and different designers feel differently. But for me, at the end of the day, the Rules Committee makes the rules and we create the cards. So I'm gonna make the cards based on the rules that the Rules Committee provides. And in general, I support the Rules Committee on things. I think they do a great job. What's the story behind how Rogra came to be? I am a huge fan of Magic's story, but as big as I am nothing compared to the titanic might that is Ethan Fleischer and Kelly Diggs, both of which I was blessed to work on this team with. So one day, Ethan handed off a card to me that was a 0 mana kobold with partner. I looked at it, loved it, said, I'm gonna put this in the set, and it stuck. It's just that easy. Do you know if we can ever get more lore on Najila or her other Battle Bond friends? She's in Commander Legends, so this question is fair game, right? I'll let it slide, because Battle Bond is one of my favorite sets I've ever got to work on. And definitely something that I was a little sad about is how little flavor there was for all the cool legends in the set. So my hope, personally, is that someday we will do a Battle Bond 2 and get to hear all about our fan favorite characters like Najila and Okwon and Zendersplit and what Virtus and Gorm are up to and all of these cool characters, but we need to make a Battle Bond 2 to make it happen. So if you want to see a Battle Bond 2, I would love to convince people to do a Battle Bond 2. Please tweet at people, post about it, talk about it. I mean, I love Commander Legends. I want to do a second one of those too. But if you want to see a second Battle Bond, please tell people, make Reddit threads, whatever you got to do, because I would love to make a Battle Bond 2. Let's do it. Let's get it trending, Twitter trending. I don't know. What do we got to do? I can't end this. I'm too excited. Battle Bond 2. Let's make it happen. Were there any deck archetypes that you tried designing around that didn't make the cut? Most of the draft archetypes I put into the set actually stuck all the way through the final design process. But there is one that Jules and his team cut, which is very notable to me, and that is blue-black zombies. Before they added in blue-red pirates and black-green elves, there was just one tribe, and it was zombies. Was there ever any consideration for more 2-color partners to create 4-color combinations in the set? I know 4 colors get a lot of hate because they're seen as a value deck, but I personally was hoping to get some to diversify. Partners are a tricky beast. You know, coming into Commander Legends, after we had shown off a few partners, some of the biggest concerns I was getting sent were concerns about the partner mechanic returning, because the original partners were so strong. Cards like Thrasios and Timna have just ruled the roost in a lot of Commander circles. People were concerned that partner was just an inherently broken mechanic. But now I think it's really interesting that Commander Legends is out, people have seen all the cards, and I'm getting a bunch of feedback about, wow, I didn't think partner would be okay, but it actually turned out just fine. And to me, a big part of the secret sauce that worked here was only doing monocolored partners. The original partners being 2 colors made it so easy to add into any deck, because adding more colors into your deck just means you're adding more power. And so I think it's interesting that a lot of players are asking me, hey, this worked out fine, just make more 2-color partners. When in reality, what makes a lot of these partners okay is that they aren't 2 colors. Yes, of course, there are implementations that can work for other 2-color combinations of partners, but we would have to be really, really, really careful with them. And yes, we could put niche effects on them, but who knows how those would end up playing out in practice. So while I don't think it's impossible you will see more 2-color partners someday, it's definitely a lot more difficult to create and something we're very wary about doing. Are we going to get a trample creature in the future? Not before I get my flying creature. Was there talk of bringing in obscure mechanics for just one card, like a legend that gives shadow or flanking? Really early on in design, the set was a lot more like Commander Horizons, with a lot of mechanics running around everywhere. But what we very quickly found is that Commander Draft is plenty complicated on its own. It didn't need a bunch of other mechanics hanging around, making things even more confusing. So we scaled it back to just the core mechanics that you see show up in the set now. Just like you would have preferred to use the Goad Auras instead of the Vows, would you have liked to use the Thriving Lands from Jumpstart as mana fixing? Because of the wild timeline of the set, there were plenty of cards created while the set was late in the stages of design or even finished that could have been really good fits for the set. And the Thriving Lands are definitely among them. If I was working on a Commander Legends 2, the Thriving Lands would be cards I would probably try out. Is the foil etched treatment going to be exclusive to Commander Legends, or is this something we'll be seeing more of in the future? Going into Commander Legends, we didn't really know how people were going to receive the foil etched cards, but having seen the response now and it being so positive, yeah, I think you can expect to see these at some point in the future. What are the chances we ever see cumulative upkeep make a reappearance? I figure if it comes back, a Commander product might be the best place to test the waters. I love that our Commander decks have cool 1 and 2 off throwbacks to old mechanics. For example, things like Evoke or Split Second. These are cool to have show up every now and then. And I think that a cumulative upkeep card could absolutely fit the bill here. As far as a full-on returning mechanic though, cumulative upkeep has a couple things really working against it. First of all, it's complicated. Second of all, it's a downside mechanic. Third of all, it triggers every single upkeep, which makes it easy to forget, and if you draw your card well, your thing dies. So I don't think that cumulative upkeep's future is particularly bright, outside of maybe a card here or there. Wheel of Misfortune and Rootweaver Druid are my 2 favorite cards in Commander Legends because they deal with game theory and require a significant amount of discussion among players at the table. Were there any others that didn't make the cut, and do you plan to make more? Indeed, there were more originally in the set. Wheel of Misfortune is actually the last remaining member of a cycle we called the Bargain Cycle. There were 5 at rare, 1 for each color, and they all had bidding that worked like Wheel of Misfortune. In general, I like these kind of cards. I like the mind games or mini game style cards, but you have to be careful to not do too many of them because they can really slow the game down. Every time a Wheel of Misfortune is cast, well, there's a whole little bidding thing that happens and players have to think about their life totals and analyze the board, and that kind of thing can slog down the game. So I love these kind of things in the right doses. Were Hullbreacher and Opposition Agent originally meant to be part of a cycle, or did they just end up looking very similar? In game design, we talk about how 2 points, 2 cards in this case, can make a line even if you never intended for there to be a line there if they're similar enough. And that's exactly what happened here. Hullbreacher and Opposition Agent were both added into the set after I handed off the file to Jules, but even then, I happened to know that these cards were not part of a cycle. There isn't a red, green, white one that you're not seeing that were created and cut. They just don't exist. They stand alone. Phew! That was a ton of questions. And I'm sure there's still many more questions you have about Commander Legends. So please feel free to leave me a comment down below with any questions you have, and I'll look through both those and my video last week to grab the questions from for Wednesday's episode, where I will answer your Commander Legends questions. In the meantime, may you have a lot of fun gaining trample, 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 and trample. You got this.